Want to know if the new Thrustmaster SOL-R4 set is just a black SOL-R2 variant with a thrust control? Want to know if the SOL-R3 on the AVA Base really makes the leap into the upper class? Perfect, then you've come to the right place. We compare buttons against precision, detents against friction, HOSAS against HOTAS, and in the end, you'll know exactly which setup is right for you. And we promise, we'll explain every technical term in 2 simple sentences, without any jargon. A quick note on transparency. Thrustmaster provided us with the devices free of charge, without influencing or imposing any requirements. Our opinion remains independent. Let's start with Chapter 1. What's new? We provide a range classification and all the important technical data. First up is the SOL-R4 HOTAS, hands-on throttle and stick, right hand on the joystick, left hand on the throttle, classic flight flow. The stick uses HEART sensors, which are contactless Hall sensors with 16-bit resolution. This means that the stick detects tiny movements in around 65,000 steps without any mechanical friction. X and Y each move plus or minus 18 degrees. The Z-axis is the rotatable twist with plus or minus 20 degrees and a mechanical lock if you don't want to rotate. The grip is removable and compatible with the AVA Base. The SOL-R base also offers a control panel with soft keypads, toggle switches, a rotary knob, a selector switch, and a mini throttle with approximately 22 mm of travel. The lighting consists of several RGB zones that you can group by color in the software. This makes the stick of the SOL-R4 set a black version of the SOL-R2 version, with no technical differences. Together, the SOL-R4 set offers up to 58 assignable actions and 13 axes. The throttle runs on SMART rails, which are linear guide rails, with 80 mm of travel for smooth movement. There are detents, i.e. tactile stopping points, 50%, 80%, both together, or completely linear without detents. Detent means that your hand feels a fixed point, for example afterburner or 0 point, without looking. You can connect TFRP pedals via the RJ12 socket. Of course, the dimensions and weight have not changed compared to the SOL-R2. The stick base measures approximately 196 by 196 by 247 millimeters and weighs around 1,270 grams. The throttle measures approximately 170 by 204 by 125 millimeters and weighs around 665 grams. And yes, the SOL-R4 throttle is like the old TWCS in a new guise. No bullshit. The new one offers selectable detents, 50%, 80% dual linear, and a slightly modified control panel. That's basically it. SMART rail, 80mm stroke, basic logic and feel are practically identical. Both have a 2-axis mini stick with click, a rotary knob scroll wheel, additional buttons including a hat for quick commands, and an RJ12 port for optional pedals. The layout of the TWCS is very similar at its core. The only new and decisive feature of the SOL-R4 is the selectable detents, 50%, 80% dual or linear. Conclusion? If you already have a TWCS and don't need detents, keep it and just get the SOL-R stick. It feels almost the same in everyday use. If you want fixed marks for idle cruise afterburner, then go for the SOL-R4 throttle. Otherwise, save your money. Now let's move on to the SOL-R3, a pure stick add-on grip for the AVA Base. The AVA Base is Thrustmaster's high-end joystick base and has been the de facto flagship in the lineup since May 2024. It has a modular design and is continuously maintained via firmware and target. A grip is just the actual joystick attachment with the buttons that you plug into the base. The SOL-R3 comes with 21 buttons, including dual triggers, 2 hat switches, a backlit mini stick, and a thumb wheel, so the familiar SOL-R button logic. It offers a total of 6 axes. The Z-axis, so the twist, is detected without contact and can be mechanically locked. Ambidextrous means that you can convert the grip for right or left-handed use in just a few simple steps. The bundle with the AVA Base includes 2 star cams. We will show you what cams actually change later in the mechanics section. Dimensions and weight, approximately 75 times 115 times 200 millimeters at around 309 grams. Target group, advanced users and enthusiasts who want to fine-tune the feel of the base and keep the SOL-R button logic. You can continue to use existing AVA bases with the SOL-R3. This clearly defines the range. SOL-R4 as a complete HOTAS entry-level model with a modern throttle and selectable detents. SOL-R3 as a handle for the AVA base when precision and tuning are paramount. Next, we'll look at design and ergonomics and focus on differences that you can really feel. In terms of design and ergonomics, all SOL-R handles can be used on the right or left. Ambidextrous means that you can convert them for right or left use in just a few simple steps so that the handrest, thumb travel, and button range fit your hand. The twist on the handle is the rotational movement for yaw. When flying with pedals, you lock it mechanically to avoid sideways rotation. The SOL-R base comes with its own control panel with soft keypads, toggle switches, a rotary knob, a selector switch, and the mini throttle. RGB helps with orientation. You assign colors to function groups and can find them blindly in the heat of battle. The SOL-R4 has a dark appearance while the older SOL-R2 was white. Functionally, the handles are very similar. The big difference lies in the combination. SOL-R2 is HOSAS, so 2 sticks, maximum assignment, and 6DOF. SOL-R4 is HOTAS, so stick plus throttle for classic flight control. The SOL-R3 on the AVA Base feels different because the AVA Base does not have any base buttons. This is intentional and puts the focus on the mechanics. We now come to Chapter 3, the technical overview of the SOL-R4. This section deals with practical uses. The HEART sensors deliver consistently precise inputs because there is no friction. The larger axis travel of plus or minus 18 degrees on X/Y and plus or minus 20 degrees on twist gives you room for fine corrections. The base controls put important commands at your fingertips, while the mini throttle covers small thrust changes or trim. RGB zones let you organize areas without searching. The throttle with 80mm travel ensures a long, smooth thrust path. Detents let you decide whether you want fixed marks or completely linear travel, and RJ12 lets you connect pedals to the system without USB clutter. Tidy up, plug in, done. Let's compare detents and friction. Detents are noticeable clicks in the travel, small clicks at fixed points, for example, at 50% or 80%, or at both points. Friction is friction without a click point, a continuous resistance that you can adjust to be tighter or looser. Detents provide fixed marks that you can hit blindly, afterburner, cruise power, or a clear 0 point. Friction feels smooth, is quiet and inexpensive, but requires muscle memory so that you can reliably find the same point again. In space, a detent helps you switch cleanly between cruise and boost. In jet sims, clear afterburner marks are worth their weight in gold. In civil aviation, a defined idle point makes the transition to reverse clean. If detents bother you, simply set the SOL-R4 to linear and enjoy pure friction feeling via the SMART rails with 80mm of travel. In short, the SOL-R4 can do both, clickable or stepless. You choose what suits your style. Let's compare HOSAS and HOTAS. HOSAS means 2 sticks, one on the left and one on the right. Advantage: you can control turning, tilting, pitching, and strafing simultaneously in one fluid motion and have an extremely large number of buttons under both hands. Disadvantage: there is no real thrust lever. Thrust is often simulated via a mini throttle or rotary wheel, and there are no fixed marks such as afterburners. HOTAS means a stick and a real thrust control. Advantage: power over a long range, with detents if desired, clear markers for idle, cruise, and afterburner, and your right hand remains free for aiming. Disadvantage: fewer buttons overall than with 2 sticks. Pure 6 degree of freedom flying then requires hats or the mini stick. In short, if you mainly fly space dogfights, mining, and docking, HOSAS plays to its strengths. That's the thinking behind SOL-R2. If you want classic flight flow with real thrust travel, clear detents, and jet logic, you'll be more relaxed with HOTAS. That's exactly where SOL-R4 comes in. And if you want both, combine HOTAS on the left with AVA fine-tuning on the right stick. This brings us to the SOL-R3 technology overview with the AVA base. The SOL-R3 is the handle with the buttons that you attach to the base. It has 21 buttons including dual triggers, 2 hats, a backlit mini stick, and a thumb wheel. The handle has 6 axes, X and Y for tilt and tilt, Z as twist for yaw. You can mechanically lock the twist when working with pedals. The handle really comes into its own on the AVA base because you define the steering feel of the base yourself. 2 star cams are included in the scope of delivery. I will now show you exactly what cams, springs, masks, and a damper do in the mechanics section. Cams are cam discs in the joint. They determine how the resistance increases over the course of the movement. Flat means soft and even, progressive means tighter towards the edge. Springs set the restoring force in the middle. Soft springs steer easily, strong springs provide counter pressure and stability. Masks are mechanical stops and limit the maximum travel. Handy if you want a shorter deflection, for example for helicopters or precise docking. A damper slows down fast movements and makes the feel richer like a shock absorber in a car. The AVA base combines heart sensors for the axes and XY sensors for fine centering to ensure that the 0 point is truly accurate. Parts of the resistance can be adjusted from the outside without dismantling the setup. Simple recipes: space docking and mining like flat cams with soft springs, optionally with a shorter travel via mask. DCS jets benefit from progressive cams and medium springs to keep the center stable and the edge clearly resistant. Helicopter control feels smooth with soft springs plus dampers without any wiggling. Turn 2 screws, swap a spring, you'll feel the difference immediately. This is where you enter the realm of enthusiasts, not just lots of buttons, but exactly the feel you want. Now for the practical part of the AVA base, swapping cams and springs. First, disconnect the power and USB, then remove the grip and place the base securely on the work surface. We'll start with the cams. Loosen the side cover, open the 2 screws on the cam holder with the Allen key provided, remove the cam, insert the new star cam and pay attention to the left-right markings and the arrow direction so that the curve is correctly aligned. Tighten the screws again by hand, firmly, but without using force, and briefly check that the stick is freely centered. Now the springs. Lightly relieve the stick with your hand. Unhook the spring at the bottom, then unhook it at the top, hook the new spring in at the top first, then at the bottom. If you want more counter pressure, use the stronger spring. If you want it softer, use the lighter one. Is the spring in place? Feel the travel, find the middle, check the edge resistance. If you have installed a mask, i.e. a travel limiter, adjust its position before closing the cover. Finally, close the cover, reattach the grip, and connect the USB. Use the device analyzer to quickly check that X and Y are running smoothly and that the center is correct. Done. Now, we come to mounts and compatibility. Both the SOL-R4 set and the SOL-R3 on the AVA base can be mounted on standard desk and cockpit mounts. The SOL-R base has a hole pattern for typical mounting plates. The rubber feet are designed for tabletop use, and when screwed in place, it is rock solid. There are dedicated Monstertech plates for the AVA base and the SOL-R joystick, allowing you to position the stick on the left or right of your seat or table at exactly the height and distance where your arms are relaxed. The SOL-R4 throttle can be mounted on a throttle plate or used in the traditional way on a table. Handles and bases remain compatible within the ecosystem. The SOL-R3 runs natively on AVA and also works on the SOL-R base. Of course, the special mechanics of the AVM only come into their own there. Pedals are connected via RJ12, additional axes without additional USB cables. Bottom line, if you already have a Monstertech or a similar system, you don't need to reinvent anything. Attach the plate, adjust the height, fine-tune the angle, done. And since there were a few questions after the release of the SOL-R series, here is a summary of the most important ones, short and sweet, no bullshit. Are the SOL-R4 just a black version of the SOL-R2? Almost, but not quite. The stick is very similar in terms of functionality, the difference lies in the set. With SOL-R4, you get the real thrust control with selectable detents. With SOL-R2, you get a dual stick setup. Do I need cams on the AVA base? Only if you really want to tailor the steering feel to your preferences. Cams shape the force curve, springs set the return force. Plug and play, SOL-R base. Fine-tuning, AVA. Are detents annoying? Only if you activate them. You can switch to linear mode at any time and enjoy pure friction without click points. Both options are available. You decide according to your preferences. 2 sticks or stick plus throttle. HOSAS with 2 sticks provides maximum assignment and true 60 OF in one flow. HOTAS with stick and throttle provides long throttle travel and clear marks for idle, cruise, and afterburner. Space purists love HOSAS. For classic flight flow, HOTAS feels more natural. Are the buttons missing from the AVA base? That's intentional. A VA prioritizes mechanics and feel. There are many direct buttons on the SOL-R base or panels. The perfect control feel is achieved on the AVA with cams and springs. Do the SOL-R sticks really last a long time? Yes. Hall effect sensors measure without contact. Nothing rubs off, precision remains constant. Will it fit my rig? Yes. There are mounting plates from common manufacturers for the SOL-R base, AVA base, and throttle. With common systems such as Monstertech, you screw it on, adjust the height and angle, done. Do I have to learn new software? Number, target remains the same suite. We link the deep dive to our SOL-R2 video, where we go into detail on all areas of the software. Nevertheless, a quick word about the software. Target remains identical to the first SOL-R2 video. We will only show it briefly and refer directly to the deep dive with installation, firmware, and profiles. The device analyzer shows live whether the axes and buttons are working properly. At the AVA base, we only deal with cams and springs. Everything else remains as shown in the first part. Finally, a clear recommendation. The SOL-R4 set is our entry-level setup. It's just right if you're coming from a gamepad or mouse and keyboard and want to just fly. Aim with the right, power with the left, with detents as tactile markers if desired. The price-performance ratio is strong here and setup is quick. SOL-R4 costs just under $349 and will be available from November 2025. There are currently no other sticks and thrust levers available. However, the but is that the thrust lever is kept very simple, mapping all functions, but not matching the perceived higher class of the SOL-R stick. Here is the alternative we prefer, the SOL-R2 set, especially for space simulations. The SOL-R2 dual sticks are the logical upgrade if you want more functions at your fingertips on the left and love true 60 OF flying. Two sticks mean maximum assignment, extremely direct control when strafing, turning, and aiming in one fluid motion. You sacrifice the long throttle travel of a single throttle, but gain speed and control surface. For space purists, this is the next step beyond the beginner level. The SOL-R3 on the AVA base is the enthusiast's choice. It's not about more buttons, but about the perfect control feel. Cams shape the force curve, springs provide counter-pressure, and optional masks and a damper help with fine-tuning. The result? A premium feel on the stick, and this is exactly where Thrustmaster scores points over some of its competitors. The AVA base plays in a very high-quality league, but remains significantly cheaper than many high-end alternatives. A clear recommendation for anyone who wants to move up to the upper class without spending thousands. The SOL-R3 costs $109 for the stick and $299 for the base. Again, excellent value for money. And if you want the best of both worlds, go for the hybrid. SOL-R3 on the AVA base, on the right for precision and tuning, the throttle from the SOL-R4 set on the left for long thrust travel and clear detent marks, or alternatively, a SOL-R2 stick for more buttons and additional features on the powerful SOL-R base. This gives you sensitivity on the stick and clean power points during thrust, ideal for combat, mining, and everything in between. And depending on the promotion, you can get up to 10% off with the code Carolinga. If you found the video helpful, feel free to check out our daily Twitch live streams and ask your questions live. For setup questions, profiles, and fine-tuning, you can find us on Discord anytime. Join, ask, done. Share your tips, tricks, and experiences in the comments below so everyone can benefit. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next tests. Thanks for watching and see you next time.